Alright, welcome back to the Roblox course, and in this lecture we're going to take a look at the Billboard GUI. So we've seen the screen GUI, but now let's take a look at the Billboard GUI. And first of all, what we're going to do is we're going to actually disable the screen GUI, and we can do this by just hitting the enabled and setting it to false. That's basically all we need to do, and now the UI is gone. Now the Billboard GUI is basically something that appears above, let's say, a certain part. So let's just create a new part here in our workspace, and let's call this part how about Billboard example, so that we know where it is. And we're gonna just click on the plus, and then we can just search. So if you search GUI, as you can see, there's a Billboard GUI, the screen GUI, and the surface GUI. Right now, we've already seen the screen GUI in the last lecture, and now we're going to take a look at the Billboard GUI. If we actually hover over it, you can see that a GUI that adorns an object in the 3D world, and then we're just going to add it and see what happens. So as you can see right now, nothing happened. Now that's perfectly normal. We need to add a new frame for this, and then as you can see, we've already have something in here. So once again, the frame, it's important that we actually scale this thing properly. So let's just do 1 and 1 for the scale right now. And let's also take the Billboard GUI and go to it's going to be the size offset. And let's actually put this to, let's say 1. So it actually hovers over the part a bit. You can also maybe do 1.5, something like that. I think that's fine. Now, as you can see, this actually also... This gets bigger as the further we go away, but we're gonna take a look at that soon enough. So the frame inside of the frame, this works exactly the same as the other GUI works. So inside of the frame, we can add a text label, and this text label, of course, once again, I definitely advise to look at the scaling one more time, and then let's say, for example, instead of here, we can save the text property. We can say, for example, this is the example part. Let's call it like this. And then we also scale the text. It's a little big, but that's going to be fine. And let's just see how it looks in game. So if we go in, you can see example part. Now it's quite big, and as you can see, the further I go back, the bigger it gets. Now that is of course ridiculous. It's not quite what we want, because especially, you know, if you have it like here, maybe this is a shop or something, and you want to have it be that everyone sees, oh, there's a shop there. You know, that's really, you don't really want it to get bigger as you go back, and you can also see it here. So that's definitely a scaling thing that we don't want. And we can change this by, once again, changing the size parameter. So now I have it at 1 and 1. So the scale at 1 and 1 is a little small, I would say. But if we scale it, 12, maybe a little big. So let's say something like a, let's say an 8, 7. I think 7 is fine, and then 2 in this direction. Yeah, that's pretty good. I think that's fine. And then all of a sudden, once again, we don't use the pixels, but we use the scale, and then it actually works out very well. So there you can see that it gets smaller and smaller, and at some point, of course, you can't read it anymore because it gets so small, but that's very good. Important for the Billboard GUI, it always faces the camera, as you can see, right? So if I turn the camera here, it faces the camera always, in whatever way I turn the camera. And what's also important when we have the Billboard GUI, there is this max distance. Now this is currently a very big number. This is basically infinity. So we can always see it, and we can say, well, actually, I only want it to be seen from like 64 studs away. So if we do that, then what's going to happen is, as we go further along, and all of a sudden it disappears, and if we go back and we are in 64 stud radius, then it's going to reappear, right? So that's also a very useful thing to know. So that's a very useful property to actually use. Right, so overall, this is the basic, let's say, Billboard GUI. When it comes to the frame and the text labels and all of that, it works exactly the same as the normal GUI would. And yeah, so this is quick, let's say, overview or example of a Billboard GUI. If there are any questions, of course, always feel free to ask and I'll be sure to respond. And yeah.